Greetings and salutations. If you're like me, it has been years since you studied geometry and physics and have difficulty recalling formulas to find answers for mathematical questions on Board of Certified Sage Professionals credential examinations. Today's presentation is designed to walk you through the step-by-step procedure to determine the volume of a gas cylinder. Our goals today are to learn how to calculate the volume of a gas, understand the important concepts of pi, circumference, and diameter, and provide practice for a simple sample question. Questions on a BCSP will be more complex than the sample question provided, but we must learn to walk before we can run. The first concept we must learn is pi. Pi is simply stated is an irrational number or ratio that tells you how many times the circle's circumference fits around its width. The amazing thing about pi, regardless of the circle size, the ratio or number remains constant. Though pi is continuous with numbers that continue without repeating, for brevity, BCSP stops at the sixth place of pi, which is 3.14159. Remember, pi tells us how many times the circle's circumference fits around its width. The 50-cent word for the outside of the circle or edge or the circle perimeter is known as circumference. Attempt to measure the length around an aluminum soda can with a straight ruler. It is an impossible task. Instead, use a piece of string to wrap around the soda can. Mark it where the string meets and measure the string using this straight edge ruler. The width of a circle is its diameter, which is easy enough to find when measuring a circle, but much more difficult when attempting to find the diameter of a sphere or cylinder. Given the diameter, the width of the circle, we can determine the radius. Radius being half the size of the circle's diameter, or radius is equal to the diameter divided by 2. If the diameter becomes larger, so will the circumference increase its length. Similarly, if the circumference grows shorter, the diameter width will narrow. The one constant is regardless if diameter or circumference changes size or length, the magic number of pi remains constant at 3.14159. Want or need to know how much gas can be safely stored within a cylinder? That is the volume. Volume is equal to 3.14159 multiplied by the radius times the radius multiplied by the height. What is radius again? It is half the size of a circle's width, or the circle's diameter. If the circle is 12 inches, the radius is 6 inches. What if the circle diameter is 144 inches? Just divide 144 by 2, and the radius is 72. Now we're at step 2. We've already found the diameter and the radius. Now we need to start plugging those numbers into the volume formula. The volume formula is pi, or 3.14159, times the radius squared times the height. So our volume numbers that we're going to put in here is volume 3.14159, that's the pi, times 6 squared times 24. What was the meaning of the word salad when I said radius times the radius? This is squaring the radius. This is the small 2 at the end and slightly above the word radius in the formula. This is the exponent. This is shorthand telling you to multiply the big number, which is also known as the base, this many times by itself. This many times is the exponent. Do not make the mistake I did as a kid, and still occasionally make as an adult, and just double the base by multiplying by 2. This just brings you back to the width of the circle and defeats finding the radius. So if the base was 6 with an exponent of 2, it is going to be 6 times 6, and that equals 36. If the base with an exponent of 3, that's going to be 6 times 6 times 6, equaling 216. Base 2 with an exponent of 4 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. That equals 16. We are nearing the end, I promise you. Step 1 was to find the radius, or half the width of the circle. Step 2 was to plug the numbers from the question into the volume formula. Volume formula being equal to pi times radius squared times height, or 3.14159 times 6 squared times 24. Step 3 is to find 6 squared, which is 36. Now in step 4, we multiply pi by 36. Depending on what number we use for pi, can affect the outcome. Using 3.14159 times 36 will give you an answer of 1.1309724. Whereas using the longer version of pi in the scientific calculator, the result is 1.130973355. Small difference, but it can affect that final calculation. As promised, we've come into the final step. Step 5 brings us to the solution. We take the product. The product is just the sum from multiplication of pi multiplied by radius squared and multiply it by height, which gives us 2,714 cubic inches. Hold on, cubic inches? What is a cubic inch? Imagine a 1-inch cube. The length, width, and height are all 1 inch. So that would be 1 cubic inch. In conclusion, pi helps us to connect the diameter and circumference of a circle. We use these ideas to find the volume of cylinders, like gas tanks. Understanding these basics is useful in science, engineering, and everyday problem solving. It will definitely help you on your board of certified safety professional credential examinations.